Hi, Leo. Welcome to your October 2017 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, Leo, in October, I have a feeling that some of you are really getting down to brass tacks when it comes to some kind of internet project or writing project, because you've already had Jupiter in this sector for the last year, the third house in the sign of Libra. And actually, Jupiter will still be in that third house for the first third of the month. And then on the 10th, it goes into Scorpio, and that's your fourth house of home and family. The third house is any way that you communicate. And in 2017, it seems like the internet is the number one way. Whereas in the past, we might have used the radio, or we might have used the television to communicate ideas. Where, the broadcast, I was going to say broadcast journalism, but I mean print journalism. And nowadays, the internet kind of consolidates all of those mediums. So whether you are interested in starting a YouTube channel or something along the lines of a blog, that might be something that really interests you, or just an online business in general with a website. As I stated, you may have already done that prior to October because of Jupiter being in that house, but there's still going to be some good energy for it to happen because, how shall I count the ways? The sun is in that third house until the 23rd. You have Mercury in that house until the 17th. So Mercury is you thinking of these ideas that have to do with communicating, and public speaking, I should add, is one of them as well. And you're going to have Venus and Mars enter this sector on different dates. Venus on the 14th and Mars on the 22nd. But let me start with the full moon in Aries, which is happening on October 5th. The sign Aries is your ninth house, Leo. And of course, when I say all of this, it's all relative because it has to do with your exact degree of sun or rising Leo. So having said that, the ninth house is the house of higher learning. So it's the opposite house of that third house that I've just been talking about. When you have an opposite house, there tends to be like complementary issues that make up whatever the house represents. So for the ninth house, we're talking about communicating in a higher learning setting. The third house is younger education. The ninth house is like university. The third house is like journalism. The ninth house is like more, I would say, philosophical texts, more academic stuff, and more like books rather than articles. The third house is more like quick bits of knowledge, blurbs, and the ninth house is more involved. And they're complementary signs, Gemini and Sagittarius, respectively, that rule the third and ninth houses. So whatever those two signs represent, those are what those houses represent. So with the ninth house and having a full moon there, for some Leos, you may finally have that eureka moment where you realize exactly your place in the world in a philosophical sense, a spiritual sense, rather than just the 10th house of career type of sense. Leos tend to be very ambitious people and very proud, of their accomplishments and wanting people to admire their accomplishments. And yet, the ninth house that's the 10th house. And that would be true for anyone who is who has transits that are going through there. But you have this ninth house full moon can bring a realization about who you are as a soul rather than just like this being who's going through this lifetime, achieving this and achieving that. And so it can be like a turning point for some people you may have even been struggling with certain things in your life, and now you're putting it in proper perspective. The other thing that could happen is that some of you may be returning from a vacation or some other foreign destination. Maybe it was even with work, that you were like teaching English as a second language, or you were a traveling professor in whatever subject it was. Because the full moon can bring endings, and so you may be returning from a trip, or perhaps a trip manifests that you've been wanting to take. So all of a sudden everything is complete, and all you have to do is jump on a plane and go. Because sometimes full moons bring things to fruition, and if you've been filling out applications to be able to teach overseas, this might be the time, or do whatever overseas. Maybe you have a business or something. I don't know. But yeah, it can be very good for all of these things. And so the next interesting transit, and actually it's not next, it's actually happening on the same day to some extent. Venus and Mars, the divine lovers, Venus being the romance, and Mars being more of the physical passion, you could say love and lust, conjoined in Virgo on the 5th and 6th of October in your second house of earned income. Now, that can be very good for anything related to career matters, because Mars can be that burning ambition, and with Venus, it's like profiting from it in that second house. So look to that date, and especially since the 9th house is activated as well with that full moon in Aries. If you're doing anything in academia, that might have some kind of great potential for promotion and financial gain. And also something, if you're like a yoga teacher or something along those lines, that could also fit into that 9th house, connected to that second house. So the fact that on one of the dates of the conjunction, it's on the same date as that full moon, to me that's significant, because there is this sense of the fullness of the moon and the abundance that it might symbolize, that it's going to affect your money sector. And then, as I said, Jupiter goes into your 4th house on the 10th. 4th house, home and family, mother, family of origin in general, real estate matters. You could benefit from real estate. You could be expanding your brood if you have kids, or if maybe you're going to conceive a child. The 5th house is usually the house of conception, but the 4th house could be maybe you're giving birth at some point in the coming year and adding to that family. With Jupiter, maybe it'll be twins, who knows? But I'm sensing that some of you will be dealing with family members, because Mercury is in that 3rd house until the 17th. And the 3rd house is the house of siblings, brothers and sisters, as well as cousins, and I think aunts and uncles. I don't know if that's the 6th house. I should look that up, but definitely extended family, as well as your brothers and sisters. So whether it's you're telling them, wow, I'm pregnant, you're going to be first-time aunts or first-time uncles, and isn't this great? And now you're like getting older, so you're less competitive with them and you're more friends with them. I don't know, but it could be something along those lines. And I just have to think, Mercury's going to go into that 4th house on the 17th. You're going to be dealing with parents and siblings. So it might be a little bit of a blast from the past of growing up, which, it can be, I think overall it will be positive because Jupiter. But whenever we're dealing with family, there can always be this kind of contention because of the history that connects us to them, past history. And some of it may not be completely dealt with, sibling rivalries or just any kind of disagreements we've had with the parents. But but it seems like positive with Jupiter. So I'm going to go with that. And then on the 19th, well, I don't think I mentioned this. I don't have it listed here, but Venus goes into Libra, so your third house, on the 14th. So Venus in the third house could mean you benefiting financially from the internet in some way. So you launch business, you start seeing the profit. Venus can also be you having harmony with siblings. Maybe if you're giving a speech, it goes over very well because you've got a silk-tongued delivery. I don't know. But anyway, that looks good. And then there's that new moon in the third house, and that's happening on the 19th. So new beginnings with the internet in some way. Good time to launch an internet business. And also having some kind of peaceful relationship with siblings. So maybe some of you are really getting along with them, and you're happy because Venus is there, you have a new moon there, you're starting to understand each other possibly, and that brings harmony to the situation. It could be like, I was thinking even some of you may be closing in on a home, and the new moon in Libra is your new neighborhood, because the third house can be your local area. So Mars goes into this third house on the 22nd. Now Mars can upset the apple cart because it is so aggressive. So maybe you're getting along with siblings, and then all of a sudden somebody says something stupid, and you're back to being 5 years old. But just remember that when Mars enters a house, you need to stay above the fray. Even if somebody is good at triggering you because they know what buttons to push, stay above the fray. Realize that Mars is going into this house. This is the beauty part about astrology, is that you have a little bit of a warning ahead of time so that you can adjust your behavior and that you're not just unconsciously reacting to everything. And you do have a choice in how you react to any situation. Mars is very reactive. So, and because Mars represents the anger, and anger tends to be something that just is, you've heard the term blind rage. Well, the reason they even use the term blind, or the word blind, is because there is this lack of intelligence or conscious awareness. It's just completely reactive. And that whenever you have those kind of triggers, you should realize that your pain body is being activated, and it's like this layer that is filled with past memories that are associated with negative things, and all somebody has to do is say the wrong word or wrong phrase, and some people just go off and they go right into their story, right into all of the things that people have misunderstood about them and blah, blah, blah. And you have the opportunity to, if a sibling, for instance, or a cousin, if they say something to you that you feel is unkind, rude, what have you, you can communicate your displeasure in a way that is not reactive, which is, sometimes the most impressive and even scary way of dealing with others is a very calm, serious tone of voice, where you just are very to the point. And people sometimes, they really take it to heart because they know that you mean business. But sometimes people, they just lose it and they look like hotheads. Leo is a fire sign, so you certainly have the ability to be a hothead. Take it from your fellow sister fire sign Sagittarius that we can yell, for lack of a better word, if somebody triggers us. With me, I have to know them pretty well. I tend to be a cool customer unless it's somebody very close to me. But yeah, I mean, I can yell with the best of them. But I notice now that I'm older that these triggers are not as common because I'm not as defensive of those things anymore. I understand more of the nature of who I am. And the less self-aware a person is, the more likely they are to lose their temper, in my opinion. So that's happening. And Mars in the third house could see you really, if not, hopefully not fighting with your siblings, but very engaged with them. It just could mean extra activity for some reason. And again, this could involve some kind of change to your domestic front, and you're enlisting the help of your siblings for whatever reason. Like, for instance, let's say you give birth to twins and you need family members to take care of them. So you're constantly getting involved with their lives and they with yours. So let me think if there's anything else I need to say. No, I think that about covers it. So I hope you enjoy this. I think that the takeaway is a new beginning in the communication sector, as well as a Venus-Mars conjunction in the House of Earned Income, which could be very good for your career and money aspirations, as well as Jupiter going into your fourth house, profiting, benefiting from home and family matters in some way. Okay, Leo, well, good luck to you. If you'd like a private reading, I have a natal chart interpretation promotion going on right now, but other readings as well. Please click on the link below if you're interested in checking that out. Otherwise, have an awesome October. Bye.